The following is a fan-based discussion. All materials discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, and Saban Entertainment. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tokucast Top 10 Show.
Top 10.
This time we're going and doing series.
We have put together what we consider to be the definitive top 10.
In our opinion, as unbiased as possible.
We tried to leave favorites out of this as much as we could for rankings because some of our favorites did not make it onto this list.
Yeah.
And many of you have suggested it, so here it is, the top 10 seasons of Super Sentai.
First, honorable mentions.
I got a few.
We have a few.
Kenja, Car Ranger, and Tokucast. Tokucast maybe less so than the other two, but I enjoyed both
Yes,
of those
Tokucast
shows.
was more for him. Car Ranger is definitely for both of us because we enjoyed the hell out of that.
I love Car Ranger, yes.
And
both me and
Kenja
Marcus did.
almost made it.
Kenja is good, but it's not great.
My honorable mentions Kyoryuger because I thought it was fun. Yes, I know it has its faults, and there are a lot of them.
It's also your favorite show. So.
It is, just because I was never bored with an episode.
Super Sentai.
Never bored with an episode. Just go ahead and say it.
Marcus?
Oh no, my honorable mention was Car Ranger.
Alright.
Yeah.
But, oh, wait, no. You know which one I like quite a bit?
What's that?
Battle Fever.
Okay.
It was so weird, but it was fun to me.
Definitely one of those shows you did not expect to be on this list.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And if you want to know why he thinks it's so good, go watch our first ever video.
I like how we keep plugging that. That's great.
Yep, no one's going to fucking watch it. It doesn't have video.
5,000 views, though.
Does it really? Jesus.
Listen to it while you're playing a video game. It's fun to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
But getting into the actual list. Number 10. Juken Sentai Gekki Ranger.
The fuck was that?
10. Gekki Ranger.
Gekki Ranger. This show...
We love Kung Fu movies.
They do.
We love Kung Fu movies very much. This appealed to that on so many levels.
Gekki Ranger was a very good show.
Check our top 10 or top 5 fight scenes in Sentai.
It had very good characters. It had very good villains. It had a very good story.
And it had good suits, too.
The main
It
thing...
did. Very good suits.
Yeah. The main
And great choreography.
why it sort of ends up being sort of low on this list is because of the fact that...
It's not really impacting.
Yeah, and it focuses a lot on the villains. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. But I mean, you would...
Especially when the villain at first becomes a member of the team.
Yeah, we don't end up getting as much from the actual team themselves that we really would have liked to.
But there were still so many great moments, like when they were doing their training to get what I will only refer to as a Jungle Master mode because I watched Jungle Fury first, with Red having to do the Battle of Wits with the monkey, which was hysterical. The 12-hour-long fight Blue had with the gazelle, which was just kind of painful to watch at some points because, damn. There were just so many good moments. And there was one of those few Sentais where when it was over... You felt like it was complete. You felt closure. Shows like Ninja didn't feel an ounce of that.
Mm-hmm.
Even shows like... Oh, God, I had one in my head. Go Busters. You really couldn't feel the closure. Yeah. You knew it was over, but you couldn't feel it.
And the problem with Go Busters, we're not really going to talk about this that much because we're still talking about Gekki Ranger, but the fact that they sort of ended their own story halfway through.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, it's just, Gekki Ranger was a really, really good show. It's like the power-ups made sense. The story made sense. Everything actually really made sense in that show.
Still one of the best-looking power-ups in Sentai.
And, yeah, it's just, they're really, really good. And I really liked, exactly just what we got from that show. And, not what came after it sucked. But we'll save that for a worse list.
Yeah.
Oh, it sucks so bad.
Number 9. Tokuso Sentai Deca Ranger.
Gekki Ranger was great.
Yes.
I enjoyed everyone in this show.
You enjoy cop dramas, which has really helped you.
Yeah, it's just like, with this show, it doesn't really have like a main villain. Like, Agent Umbrella was more of a benefactor than an actual like main villain for this show.
Yeah.
Because every episode was basically just like more on a case-by-case basis than an actual, just fighting to stop this one group.
But in this case, the episodicness worked for it because when you are a cop, there is no one guy in charge of all of crime.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a mob leader or there's something like that, but there's always going to be another case. There's always going to be somebody else.
Yeah.
So it worked in this show.
Yeah, it really didn't. And, we end up getting the thing, we haven't gotten the 10 years after Gekki Ranger movie, which would honestly end up being this year. But, yeah, it's just, from what we ended up getting, we got one for Deca Ranger, but we didn't get one for Gekki Ranger, which I'm sad about. But for Deca Ranger, they're coming back. Mm-hmm. We'll see them again with Gavin and with the Q Rangers either this week or next week, depending on when this goes up. But yeah,
because space is so small, they'll all meet each other.
All they're missing is Forza.
No.
But yeah, it's just I really enjoy just watching these characters. Bon, Yumiko, Shin, and Deca Bright, his hilarity, Deca Blue, and Jasmine being the best, and Deca Master, who was at the top of our top 10 list, and Swan with Deca Swan and everything, and the other ones, Deca Bright, Deca Gold. We got so many Deca Rangers in that show.
So many Deca Rangers.
But it was just, it all really ended up working together. Having them get access to their SWAT moves later on, which was one of the best arcs in that show just overall.
And also one of the, I think that was number 2 on our best power up list.
It was number 1. I think.
Number 1.
Oh,
that's
number 2.
That was number
Super
2?
Gekki Red.
Yeah, Gekki was
okay.
second.
Yeah, it's just
because it made everything made so much sense. Power ups made sense.
It made sense that Bond went on to become Special Forces.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember. Did they have civilian powers, or was that just Power Rangers?
That was Power Rangers.
Oh damn. Wait, Yellow did.
Oh yeah, she was psychic, and then she got married to that one kid who was 10 years younger than her. And then they got married in 10 years after Special, and I'm sitting here oh god.
Moving on.
Deca Ranger is a great show. It's one of my favorites.
Great show. Number 8, Kaiser Sentai Go Kaiser.
Anniversary.
Go Kaiser is how you do an anniversary series right.
Absolutely.
You shut up. You pay homage to... We have not watched that yet.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, yeah. Frick.
We just reviewed it.
Well, in Sentai, this is how you do it right.
But
you pay homage to everything that has come before you. Lots of great cameos. The lead cast is great. I love this. The suits are fantastic. Their ability to change into everything that has come before them is just a great way to honor the Sentai that have come before them and to see them
broken.
It is broken, but
broken as fuck.
Yeah.
Especially when you're getting Gokai Silver and Gold mode. Though, ridiculous as it looks, it's still broken.
Or you just Captain Marvelous, who was
also just
marvelous.
Marvelous. The greatest thing about Gokaiger is that when you hear the words anniversary season, you don't expect to remember the main cast and the actual story. You just expect to get the fan service of the previous seasons.
Right.
This is pretty much the only Sentai where I remember all of their names.
Yes.
All of them.
The only one where I remember all the names.
And not only that, great villains, Bosco. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, I'm about to say, you say great villains because that's a lie.
The villains are not the greatest, but there's
Bosco.
Bosco. The villains are not bad, though.
No.
They're not great, but there's nothing bad about this show.
But to be fair, when you already have great protagonists like the Gokaigers, and then you have Bosco, there's only so much greatness to go around.
Mm.
And not to mention, at first, the spoiled, entitled prince villain is a good character. He's fun.
Mm-hmm.
He's not deep. He doesn't have layers.
If I could describe this entire show in one word, it would be fun.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Let's also bring up the fact that this entire season started because Marvelous just wanted his fucking curry.
That's so true.
I don't blame him.
Blew up the place where he was getting curry, and he was just
nope. Okay, I have to say
all of you are gonna die now.
Yep.
I love Marvelous.
Vengeance.
Also, when you have a character named like Captain Marvelous, you don't expect him to be such a badass.
You expect him to sort of be like Alisa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But Alisa did have his good moments.
He has moments.
He has moments.
Go Kaiser was really, really... It was, one of the first shows I watched. It was the one that I really got exposed to first before we ended up...
Can't remember. Did you make me watch Die Ranger or Go Kaiser first?
I think you made me watch Jetman first.
That's right. You made me watch Jetman first. Because you're a son of a bitch. Because you set the bar high, you motherfucker.
And then it's just hey, we're just going to stay here and then we watch Power Ranger. But,
not good. But Kaiser is fantastic. Moving on to number 7, Gosei Sentai Dairanger.
Okay,
Whoa.
this has been on our number ones on so many lists.
Yep.
Why is it number 7 on this one? Two things. Ko, and that last episode.
The ending is terrible.
The ending is atrocious.
Everything else about this show, however, is truly fantastic.
But when you end something on such a weird, shitty note, that's the last thing people are going to remember.
And that's
everybody
why it's slower
ended
down
up
here.
getting an arc, which is something that they haven't done in such a long time.
Yeah.
Everyone in this show got something to do.
Yep.
You know, you had Ryo with Jin, you had Soji with the 3 idiots, you had Daigo with Kujaku, and
May they rest in peace.
Yes, and you had well, not so much Yellow. He a lot of his things was tied in with the turtle, but
he was still really funny.
Yeah, he was still really fun. And then you had Bryn. A lot of her stuff was tied in with Ko,
but
still, it's
which is
just
really
you
unfortunate for her.
You also had her grandpa, who was a great side character.
There was just so many
things.
They had
one of the best mentors I think ever.
Yeah,
really good mentor.
They had so many things working for this show, but then you have Ko, who is a brat. Without a doubt, I think one of the worst Six Rangers ever. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is. And then you have that ending, which is the most ridiculous of things.
However, objectively speaking, even if we take those things into account,
it's still a good show.
It's still a great show.
But those two things knocked it down.
It has stronger characters and stronger villains, and that's what puts it above Gokaiger.
Also, some unanswered questions in that plot. Who made the clay?
We will never find out.
Number 6.
So let's move on to number 6, which is Mirai Sentai Time Ranger.
This show was tight. I'm talking about like tight, like storyline writing wise, tight as in cool.
I'm pretty sure we know what you meant.
And it's just
stop him.
Knowing what you meant and knowing where our minds went are two different things.
Yes,
but it's just like, once again,
especially when you do this,
everybody in this show got a point.
Oh no, absolutely.
Everybody had a point.
Everybody had a point. This show had great characters, a great concept of story, and some great undertones. Like, we talked about this in the review, the racist undertones and all of that stuff. It was such a good show. The problem, or the reason why it's so low on this list in comparison to the rest, is just because, one, everybody else on the list just kind of did it better. And two, I felt like it could have had stronger villains.
Yeah.
More memorable villains.
It's like the thing that we end up talking, and we talked about this in our comparison with Time Force, is like, we like both shows a lot, but on the, villains wise, Time Force had Rancic, and Rancic is memorable.
Despite the bullshit attempt to try to redeem him.
Yeah, but with Time Ranger, it's just like, Gien was insane. I like the fact that they made him a really much more irredeemable character.
To a degree.
Than they did in Time Force.
Remember, that's right, you're talking, I'm thinking of somebody else in Time Ranger. But yeah, he was nuts. And
I like the fact that they made that insanity just such a big part of his character. And it was, they had that build-up with showing, coming out more and more.
And another problem is that some of these side plots were not resolved at the end of the show. Some of which weren't resolved until Gokaiger.
Like, Leela, just sort of existed. But, I mean, that's also a good thing that they did it that way. Like, we just talked about, like they did in Mebius, with the whole thing with Ultraman 80.
Yeah.
That's a really good way. Like, we don't mind it if they end up bringing back, plot points that they sort of have to end up getting resolved in another show. And it's good they did that in an anniversary season. I actually really like Time Ranger just a lot, just because of the fact that, everything in this show sort of has a memorability about it, except more or less the villains. But even still, the villains were still good. And I like the fact they made a previous Ranger with the past version of Time Red, well, the future version of Time Red, the actual villain in that show.
Oh yeah, because in Time Ranger he was a treacherous douchebag.
Yeah, it was really a really, really good show, and I love Time Ranger.
But don't forget, your presence in the past has drastically changed the future. How? I can't tell you that.
Damn it. But yeah, it's just
why?
I definitely
we mentioned that a lot.
Really, really recommending watching Time Ranger if you haven't. Now we do understand Overtime hasn't subbed at all, and there are other subs out there, and that's how we got it. But yeah, it's just a really, really good show.
Number 5,
Denji Sentai Mega Ranger.
All of my feels are with this show. All of the characters are good.
I have a question for you. If you did not watch that last episode, like the day we were graduating college, would it have made as much of an impact?
No.
So it got lucky.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But all things considered.
Mega Ranger had, as I said, it took
I'm putting
a bit,
myself in timeout for that one.
It took a bit, just like Kamen Rider Black did. It took a bit to get to the point where the story just ended up becoming, that much better.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But once it got to that point, it's just like, it got amazing. Seeing them end up getting kicked out of their school, almost being not able to graduate, fighting against the Neji Rangers, and the Neji Rangers coming back and trying to kill them again. Mega Silver, basically all their machines that were getting just destroyed at the end of it. Them almost dying in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
This show was great.
It was.
It's so good. It's like one of those shows where I went into Mega Ranger not really expecting much. Like, I knew I was sort of going to end up liking it. People had told me before that Mega Ranger is a pretty good show. But then it's just like, after you end up watching it, and watching it again on the second time, it's just still that good. That's actually saying something about the quality of the show itself. And I love that. I love the fact that Mega Ranger has that standing power, even though, some of the things in there are sort of dated with the way that the powers are working. But it's just like, it still ends up really translating over very well. And I love that about Mega Ranger. Mega Ranger is a great season.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to...
Number 4.
Number 4, Samurai Sentai Shin Kenja.
First one where we got a female red.
Technically. She's still... Isn't she qualified as an extra ranger, though?
But she's also a female red.
Fair enough. But this show had so many things going right for it. It had great, memorable characters. And if you don't remember the names of the characters, don't worry, they'll tell you over and over every fucking roll call.
Chiaki, Hanori Kotoha,
and it had great story with plot twists and good characters.
Story and fights.
Yes.
Oh my god, the fights were amazing.
The fights are so good. I cannot wait until we get to review it so we can talk about the first fight with Juzo, the fight with Juzo, Shinken Red, and the other monster.
Oh my god.
The other fight at the top of the cliff, the other fight with Juzo, the other fight
I'm noticing a trend. Juzo. But...
Who was played by the Snake Orphanage from Fies.
And as I argued, I think, in a Who Would Win a long time ago, you saw these 5 strangers come together as a team and almost really become family by the end of it. When it was over and they had to go back to their normal lives, some of them were just kind of taken aback by the fact that
their lives are just so
mundane
and monotonous in comparison to what they
were doing.
Like, we end up seeing that with the team with Ghost Sager.
Oh, yeah.
Where they legitimately had to come back from the lives that they already ended up having.
And especially since they already made a point with some of them that leaving the life they had before was hard. Like with Blue and his Kabuki theater, that was kind of his passion. And,
Gold, he had the whole thing where his whole point was to come back and, fight with Takahara.
No matter what.
Yeah.
He wanted to fight with his friend. He wanted to help his friend. That's why he was one of the better Six Rangers, but his obnoxiousness did kind of teeter a bit. Once again, the worst thing working against this one, I believe, has to be...
Not Takahara, sorry.
You're fine. The one thing that's working against this show might be the villains. Because their presence wasn't...
Except for Juzo.
Yeah.
Except for Juzo. But he's like the Bosco or the Enter.
Yeah.
He's... But... What else can be said other than they could have... This seemed like such a good show that Power Rangers, Saban could have done so much with this.
If they skipped it. They should have skipped it.
Honestly, no, I think they could have gotten away with it, but just not the way they did it.
The fact that this show is so firmly entrenched in Japanese culture and history, that's what they should have stayed away from. But for Shinkenger, that's one of the things that makes it work so well.
Because it's in Japan. Heaven forbid. But we'll get to that later. But
moving on.
Yeah.
Number 3. Dengeki Sentai Changeman.
What can be said?
Unicron the movie. Because that's basically what the actual monster was. But seeing that we end up having this whole theme of subjugation.
Yes.
In this show, where basically he would end up coming in, basically and destroying a planet and subjugating the people that were on it, but end up killing most of them off and leaving just a few behind, like Shima or the other ones. Booba.
Oh my god, Booba.
Yeah, it's just like this show. Like it starts off pretty standard.
Pour one out for Booba.
This show starts off pretty standard, but it's just like after they end up getting to the actual plot, it's just like this person is basically trying to kill everybody on this planet. He's been subjugating other planets along the way, and it's so good just seeing that plot build throughout the entire show. I love Changeman. It's like this. The top 3 are just basically my levels of how I love.
A Sentai should be done.
Yeah. It's just like Changeman is just so good. You end up really caring about these villains, but the show isn't all about them, unlike in Gekki Ranger. In this show, they do a really good job of just balance and showing, even though these people are villains, not everybody on the villain side is a bad person.
And the fact that, I'm just going to spoil this right now, our top 3 are before 1992, which is amazing. The fact of how well these shows have aged. The fact that they're all at least 20 years old, but the story, the characters, and just the overall enjoyment of the show can transcend to that says a lot about how good these shows are, especially when it comes to, no offense to you guys, me. Because I'm not a big fan of those 80s and 70s shows, because if I can tell that you're blowing up a clay doll...
Clay doll.
Yeah. Then my suspension of disbelief is kind of taken aback, and it's hard to watch the show. That's just me. But the fact that these 3 are, maybe excluding number 2 because it had a rough start for me, but these 3 are still the 3 best Sentai that I could agree with, say a lot about how just impactful these shows are.
Changeman is amazing.
Booba.
That whole thing with Booba, whole thing with Shima.
I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
When the episode with Booba was over, I was speechless.
Just how well it was shot.
How well it was executed, and how sad it was.
Great show.
Oh my
Great show. Changeman is amazing. And that show came out in 1984. It's been 33
years.
3 years since
it still holds up.
And that show is still great. That says something.
That show is older than my sister. Moving on.
Number 2, Choju Sentai Live Man.
And Changeman was 1985. I apologize. But Live Man.
Live Man.
I had to do it. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I think that Live Man. Personally, I think number 2 is a better show than number 1. There's just a couple of things that hold it back from being perfect, but this show is like this close to perfection.
If you follow us on Twitter, you'll know that this is what we were arguing about in the video that I posted. Yeah. Because Marcus had to walk away from the table because we could not decide on this, and it's not like with the Sentai changes where we argued for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We literally just sat there and went, but what about this?
Okay, but what about this, though?
But what about this?
Okay, but what about this?
The one thing that holds Live Man back is black and green.
Because marketing?
Because they get introduced a little late in the game and they're not as well characterized as the other 3. But the other 3... There's like no filler in this show.
There is.
Every episode serves a purpose.
The dinosaur.
Oh yeah, the dinosaur.
Oh, but that was still funny.
No, it wasn't.
And Vega Baby.
Hashtag Vega Baby.
Hashtag Vega Baby. Vega Baby for life.
Anyway. But I'll admit, that was still filler.
Yeah, this show doesn't do a lot with filler.
It doesn't. And this is the show I just said that it took me a while to get used to, because first off, that opening isn't put you in.
You and I watched the first episode together.
And we were like, actual hell.
But then the actual show started.
And then people got super
monster. What the? Okay.
It has some of the best villains ever.
The villains make this show because,
because the villains are so tied to the protagonists.
The villains are so fantastic, and they're tied so much to the heroes you really want to root for them. You want to see these heroes win. You want to see these villains not necessarily lose, but change.
And then
you want to see them get redeemed.
And then you end up seeing, like, as the show goes on, just how twisted the plan is of Bias to take their brains and make himself younger and smarter because of it. And I love that. I love the fact that they don't end up realizing it. And the first one that does end up realizing exactly what's going to be happening is Mazinda. So she ends up, changing herself basically to a full-on cyborg to stop him. Yeah. And
just notions in the show of destroying or changing your body, essentially, like it says in the opening of the show, why did you sell your soul to the devil? The notion of improving yourself, but at what cost? Mm-hmm. You've turned yourself into a monster, but what have you gained?
Now, before we reveal number one, I want the people who are watching this video to try to guess what it is at this point, because I have a feeling they already know what it is.
So many of them probably do.
But I'm just curious. And if you get it right, put it in the comments. Or even better, if you get it right, give this video a like.
But number one.
Number one.
Shushuto Sanjo!
That's not number one.
See, I was gonna... See, that joke doesn't work because I already said the show's before 1992.
Number one!
Turbo!
See, I was gonna make it a ninja joke, and then I fucked myself with that. Number one.
Yukutama. Chojin Sentai Jetman.
Jetman. I would fly around the building, but I feel like he'd kill me again.
You'd probably kill yourself first. It's hot out.
It was hot out when we did that skit.
I know. And you almost killed yourself then.
I still love that skit, by the way.
It's great.
Yeah.
Jetman.
But boy, are my arms tired.
We end up saying more about, Live Man with Black and Green and showing up there. And this is the only bad part I have about Jetman. The fact that Yellow and Blue sort of start just existing after a little bit. But the lead up to this show and the amount of characterization and the fact that we got a romance that worked.
Romance that worked. Well, arguably
a romance that worked, and let's not forget a bromance that worked.
And
absolutely.
The villains with Gray and Maria and
there was just too much that they got right for it to not be the number one. There was too much that they got right and not enough that they got wrong. Because besides the characterization of Yellow and Blue did kind of get stepped back because the romance took over.
Yeah.
The love triangle kind of did take over.
I just love how...
Other than that, what went wrong with this show?
Nothing. It was
monster designs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about
that.
But
aside from that...
But it's just the whole backstabbing here with Radiguet.
Yeah.
Trying to take out the Empress at the very beginning and her getting killed by the Jetman and then him basically forcing Transer to go into a mental institution.
That, oh my god. That was no. The fact that if...
Also, I want to point out something. Every single one of our top 3... Oh, wait, no, never mind.
What are you about to say?
But a few of our top 10s end up having one thing in common.
What's that?
Yutaka Hirose, who played Transa, who played Jin, and who played
Bias?
Kim.
Oh.
Yeah. They all have the same person in common. I love that.
He's great.
He's great. I really wish... he said he's not going to be in anything else because he doesn't like the way that Tokusatsu went. But, yeah.
Which is fair enough.
I don't blame him,
to
be honest.
Yeah, I am kind of agreeing with him, but that's a Toku Talk rant.
Jetman is just so good. It's like you have such memorable characters like Radiguet, Guy, of course, Kaori, Transa, Gray.
And the fact that this is also one of those Sentais that just... where the Sentai started losing. Like, they started the race late. The fact that you had to spend the first episode recruiting the Jetman because of an attack, and then you had to train 4 out of 5 of the Jetman because they're not officers or...
Nope.
And then you end up having something like, we understand, Jetman was the one that sort of ended up saving Sentai because after Turbo Ranger and Live Man, Five Man. It's just like...
that piece of crap.
You understand, it's just... They basically end up having to get rid of the person who was writing everything up to that point. Tell him to get the hell out. And then we ended up getting a show like Jetman with a whole new set of writers and a creative staff. And that really ends up showing you just
they
how far they were willing to go.
knocked it out of the park.
Oh, yes.
Because I don't think there will... Unless Q Ranger does something amazing, and I highly doubt it at this point, unless they do something like that, I don't think we're ever going to get a Sentai as good as Jetman in terms of characters.
We'll never say never.
True.
But we'll find out.
But this is the way that it's been lately. This is the first... I was going to say... Q Ranger's been the first character-driven Sentai that we've seen in a long time, and even then, not all the characters are great. But...
There's also a lot of them.
There is also a fucking ton of them. And to the point where they're like, okay, we got to get them out. Send the kid to basic. Get rid of these two. I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, it's just... Jetman is so good. It's one of those shows where I get the feeling that if I watched it again, it would still be just like I was watching it for the first time.
Yep.
And I love that. It's like between Die Ranger, Live Man, Change Man, it's, you know...
Oh, I did remember one bad thing about Jetman. What? Their special effects. I'm sorry, you didn't kick the glass before it broke.
But yeah,
we're willing to give all that a pass.
I know.
But it's just like
Just
seeing that character. The character is the thing that drives these stories just so
and
much.
like what we said before when we were talking about Die Ranger, the way you end a show is going to be the last thing you remember about that show.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that
this show ended was
ended.
memorable, impactful, tear-inducing, and bullshit. Sorry, I had to put that last one on there because I'm sorry, no.
No.
The show is great.
If you haven't watched it,
Jetman, what's wrong?
Yep. Because you've watched our review on it probably if you're watching this video.
At this point.
Go watch the fucking show. We'll wait.
Pause us. Go watch all 50 episodes. Do it now. I'm not giving you a choice. Jetman's great.
Welcome back. Because that show is amazing.
Welcome back. Now you know.
Jetman is so good.
I think we've said all that needs to be said.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining the Tokucast Top 10 show.
I do not know that.
We will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.